Hello everybody, my name is Raine Steadman. I'm a principal functional consultant at Infinity Group. I've been at the company for just under 7 years, and today we're going to talk about thought leadership. And part of the thought leadership is as to how do we work with customers when it comes to the solution architects on their side and our side, and how do we collaborate together. Before we get started, it's key to understand the main themes. These are how we align with Microsoft. Infinity Group's ethos is in sync with Microsoft's approach. Customer managed systems built by Infinity Group are designed by their very nature to ultimately be managed by the customer themselves with our support and consultancy services. Support structure. Customers receive ongoing support from both Infinity Group and Microsoft throughout the lifecycle of their solution. And evolving solutions. The solutions provided must adapt with the customer, ensuring they understand their system throughout the project's journey. With this in mind, we have 8 questions, and we'll go through those, and then I'll provide my experience on a recent project, and then finish off with other applications and things that we use to support you throughout this process. So question 1, how can partnerships between Infinity Group and client-side architects be fostered to leverage the full potential of the Power Platform? So open communication. Establish transparent and consistent communication channels to share insights, progress, and challenges. Important to note that you, the customer, and us, the supplier, form a single team, and we share the successes and failures as one. Collaborative workshops. Organize workshops to explore Power Platform capabilities and how they can be applied to deliver requirements in line with what the business and end users expect. Resource sharing. Provide access to educational materials and training on the Power Platform's features and sideline development tools. The more everyone knows and understands, the easier it is to foster collaboration and clear communication. Fourth is unified vision. Align on common objectives and outcomes to ensure both parties are working towards the same goals. Innovation encouragement. Create an environment that supports experimentation with the platform's features to discover new solutions together. Question number 2. What are effective strategies for aligning the shared goals of a project with the capabilities and services offered by the Power Platform? Again, broken down into at least 4 things that are important to note. Goal capability mapping is number 1. Identify project goals and map them to specific Power Platform services that can be achieved by the platform. Identify gaps in Power Platform offering and agree how custom development is managed and what technologies should be used to cater for these gaps. 2, incremental implementation. We start with a small-scale implementation to demonstrate value and gradually expand usage. Infinity Group tends to follow an Agile methodology to deliver functionality quickly, whilst giving the customer the chance to revise and change things they need or do not like. 3, cross-functional collaboration. This is where we engage stakeholders from different areas to ensure the platform meets diverse needs. 4, continuous learning. Encourage team members to stay updated on any new features and best practices for the platform, and share this internally amongst yourselves as well as the client side. Infinity Group provides updates to the customer, providing knowledge on new features that may be of benefit to them. 3rd question, how can consultants use Power Platform and DevOps to enhance the skills of client-side architects in low-code and high-code solutions? As consultants, we use Power Platform and DevOps to enhance the skills development of client-side architects in the following ways. Integrated learning, which we combine the Power Platform's low-code with DevOps practices in line with Infinity Group best standards of practice. Agile development, we apply DevOps methodologies to iterate quickly and improve solutions using Power Platform. Cross-discipline expertise, encourage understanding of both low-code and high-code environments for versatile skill growth. This is normally where Infinity Group would have a mixed or varied team of resources going from either experts in low-code and high-code. We then also introduce intro and retrospectives, where we use DevOps feedback loops, such as retrospectives at the end of each sprint, to refine Power Platform solutions and foster ongoing learning. Infinity Group standards of development and customizations. We have development standards that keep all custom development managed in a way that makes it easy for us to use and for the client to pick it up and run with it in the future. We have strict guidelines that cover the nomenclature of all our solutions. By integrating these approaches, consultants can help the client-side architects develop a robust set of skills applicable to various solution architectures. What tools and/or metrics can be used to assess the success of a partnership focused on building solutions within the Power Platform? To assess the success of a partnership focused on building solutions within the Power Platform, Infinity Group and the client considers the following tools and metrics. Number one is the adoption rate. This is where we track how widely and quickly Power Platform solutions are being utilized. We utilize a series of reports to achieve this. Consideration number two is user satisfaction. We conduct surveys to gauge user satisfaction with the solutions. We ask the hard questions, respect the truth of the end user and management teams, and we remember that it's not just about our work. It's not that people are taking it apart, but it's really just all about success through incremental changes and working together to deliver those changes to the business. Number three is performance improvements. We measure enhancements in processes where Power Platform solutions are implemented. In these scenarios, we use things like process mining through Power Automate to measure what is the as-is amount of time to achieve X, and then what is the to be, and how does that compare against the as-is, and is it better? Lastly, we look at the return on investment. We calculate the financial impact by comparing the cost saved or revenue generated against the development and implementation expenses. We utilize DevOps to cover and estimate of how long it takes to develop a solution. The customer provides insight into how much time this would save. Alternatively, as I mentioned before, if the customer cannot provide it, we use Power Automate or try and figure out the metrics behind it to then show them how long it's taking them versus what it would be when we implement a solution. These metrics can help determine if the partnership is achieving its goals in terms of efficiency, cost savings, user engagement, and overall success. So what challenges might arise when integrating client-side developers into a project, and how can these be mitigated? To know this, we need to know what are the existing issues or what issues can arise. Number one is communication barriers. Ensuring clear understanding across teams with different backgrounds, different languages, different locations. Number two is coding standards, aligning code quality and style with project guidelines. Each person has their own different way of working, and therefore they may have their own different way of naming or naming conventions or nomenclature in managing code. And this can sometimes create a bit of friction between members in the team. So it's key to be able to manage this. Third is version control, managing code contributions to avoid conflicts. In this scenario, you may have conflicts arise where users or developers are working on multiple or same solutions at the same time, and therefore one person's work can then cross over and actually invalidate the other person's work. So it's key to manage this as well. The fourth item that can come up is requirement clarity. I imagine pretty much everyone has experienced this on any project where either the client hasn't made it abundantly clear what it is that we are delivering, or the supplier hasn't made it clear to themselves what actually the client is expecting, and therefore you get a requirement, and when that requirement comes in, we think we're delivering what the end user expects, but actually when we've finished and sent it all the way through, the end user says, what is this? That's not what I wanted. To mitigate these challenges, we establish guidelines. These guidelines are where we use existing documentation or create new comprehensive documentation for coding standards and project requirements. Number two, we use version control tools. We implement a robust version control system to manage code changes effectively. This is also quite native to the Power Platform. Things like how do you use the solution version numbers and what do these mean in various different parts of the project. To mitigate requirement clarity and communication barriers, we hold regular meetings and quite frequently throughout the life cycle of the project. Most of these are well known and well established, especially through the Agile methodology and others as well. These are normally, in my experience is daily stand-ups, end of sprint demonstrations, story time, sprint planning, and end of sprint demonstrations or phase retrospectives. Lastly, we have code reviews. So we conduct code reviews to maintain code quality and consistency. I'll go into a bit of detail about what applications we use to handle this. Based on those 4 items, these are the strategies that we employ to help smooth the integration process and ensure successful collaboration between client-side architects and Infinity Group architects. Can you provide an example where the Power Platform has improved the client-side development capabilities? I think that's maybe why I was selected for this recording in the first place. So it's quite funny. So I was selected to provide this video because I'm currently working on a project with an awesome client-side team that showcases their very best of the above. We're in the process of training and providing support to the client whilst they take ownership of their very own requirements, giving them the power to develop and deliver what their business and end users need. How does an understanding of Microsoft's principles, such as security and compliance, impact the collaboration between consultants and client-side architects? An understanding of Microsoft principles, particularly security and compliance, can significantly impact the collaboration between consultants and client-side architects in the following ways. Enhance trust. Knowledge of security and compliance builds trust, and both parties can be confident that their collaboration adheres to industry standards. Efficient communication. A shared understanding facilitates smoother communication with both parties using the same terminology regarding security measures and compliance regulations. Effective planning. Early planning around these principles can mitigate potential risks, reducing the need for costly revisions later in the project lifecycle. And lastly, alignment on standards, ensuring that system design and implementation are aligned with legal requirements and best practices set out both by the supplier and the customer. How do consultants support client-side resources in staying current with the evolving landscape of the Power Platform and Microsoft technologies? Consultants can support client-side resources in staying current with the evolving landscape of the Power Platform and Microsoft technologies unit through continuous education, offering workshops, webinars, and training sessions on the latest updates and features. We also include the ability or share with you Microsoft's roadmap of events that happen throughout the UK or abroad. And you as the customer are more than happy to sign on any resource that you believe will greatly benefit from attending these workshops. Resource sharing. We provide access to up-to-date documentation, best practices, and case studies. In addition to this, we give you complete access to your code, so you can see what we're doing, when we're doing it, who did it, and why did we do it. Community engagement. We encourage participation in forums, user groups, and conferences, as well as our own Infinity Group events. Strategic advising. We give tailored advice on how to use new capabilities in their specific context. These efforts help ensure that client-side resources are well equipped to leverage the full potential of Microsoft's offerings. And to end off today, I think it's worthwhile noting the various tools that we use throughout a normal project. There may be some additions to this, so this is not an exhaustive list. We use Azure DevOps to manage your entire backlog of requirements, for source controlling our code, for planning how the project's going to be, what do your sprints consist of, what are the requirements, what are the bugs, and which resources are working when and on what requirement. Microsoft Teams, which is an essential part to our collaboration and communications. This is where we would set up group chats with project stakeholders, business stakeholders, and more. In addition, this is where we would share any other documentation that is generated that should sit outside of Azure DevOps. Think about your own internal wiki where you might want to learn about how the processes work, what is behind it, how can you see the logic that makes the system tick. Other Microsoft Office applications, I think everyone uses most of them these days, but in addition to this, it doesn't fall under the Microsoft Office application side, not that or under Office 365, but there's an addition which would be Visio, Microsoft Visio. This is really important for us in the beginning to, at least as a consultant, map out what your current as-is business process flow is. And then once we've got that all documented and other supporting documentation to support that as-is business process flow, we can then make adjustments to it and advise on where the platform can give you some quick wins and some long-term goals. And what are you going to actually break out into a project, or do you need multiple phases of the project, and how many sprints are we going to be building based off this? Power BI, as I made reference to earlier on, we use reporting to then take a look at adoption rates and more. Visual Studio, that's where most of our technical consultants would work. So this is where, if the platform doesn't offer a low-code solution for you, we may need to create something completely custom. And this is where we would use things like JavaScript, TypeScript, JS, React, C#, and more. VS Code, again, helps in line with what I've just said. So any custom development, this really does assist us with JavaScript and deployments as well. There is a community tool that we also use, which is XRM Toolbox. I'm sure if this is your first time, then you haven't heard of it. But if you've worked on any Dynamics project before, XRM Toolbox is a lifesaver, and it does save quite a bit of time, which as a customer, I'm sure that's what you want to hear. Infinity Group also does partner with quite an extensive group of suppliers. So this is where we would either call it an ISV, or better known as integrated software vendor, or you could also say third-party integrations. Infinity Group, whilst we have our own list of tools or products that we can sell to you in addition to your project, we do also work with these partners to give you the tools that are better equipped to deal with things like e-signing, template design, and more. And then lastly, as I just mentioned, Infinity Group has our own intellectual property where we've already custom built something and it has worked, and it works for multiple customers. In this scenario, we would pick up and then make it so that it's available to all customers. And that might be on a monthly subscription model or maybe annually. And that's where I end off. So if you have any questions for us, please do get in touch. I think you know where to find us, but if you just go to Infinity Group, type Infinity Group, it will be #1 search. So look forward to working with you.